And so you said in the beginning you didn't want to form a company. In fact, you went out of your way to not make it that. You wanted to control the growth. When did that change?
Well, eventually what I realized once we started getting a bunch of really smart people together, that a company
Which is still
really
sophomore year?
Yeah, I mean, I started off with my roommates, right, and then a few other people. It occurred to me that building a company was the best way to align a group of people towards building something great, right? And it's really just it's a good organizational structure where you can really reward people if they're building something that's good. You can work with partners and reward them if the products that you're developing work well. So it's a good way to get the best people involved to build something very good.
And where'd you think of that? I mean, again, take myself back to sophomore year, and I may have been retarded in a lot of ways relative to you, but so where does this idea of building a company come from? Sophomore year in college? Were people suggesting it to you on the outside? Had you always had this budding entrepreneurial fantasy? I mean, where does it come from?
Well, I mean, so I built the first version of Facebook in a couple of weeks, which was, it was pretty quick, right? And especially for the scale that it eventually was operating at. I mean, I rented a server for $85 a month, and on that, we're basically doing, I think, millions of page views a day, because we'd have, I think at some point like 10 or 20% of all Harvard students were logged in at the same time. This is just in the first week. So I mean, there was a lot of stuff that went into building the first version, but that was pretty quick. And then as it expanded, just got more and more smart people around me to join. Eventually we moved out to California. Originally when we went out there, we weren't expecting to move out there. We wanted to go out there for the summer because we had this feeling like, okay, all these great companies come from Silicon Valley. Wouldn't it be cool to spend a summer out there and get that experience? But we expected to go back to Harvard in the fall. And the thing that made it so that we didn't was that Harvard has this great policy that lets you take as much time off as you want. So we decided, okay, let's go ahead and take one semester off and continue just building things out, and more people joined our team. And at that point, we formally incorporated the company and got our investment from our first investor, Peter Thiel. And then things were just growing, and we got up to 1 million users within our first year of running the site. And then we decided, okay, let's take a second term off from Harvard. And then things kept on growing. And then we got up to about 5 million users. And then we were like, okay, let's take a whole year off. And then all right, I guess we're not really going back. But I mean, it was never this big decision where it's like, okay, at this point, I'm going to drop out of school and I'm going to start a company, and it's going to be this crazy thing. It just happened very gradually, and at each step, we were just kind of doing what made sense to do next.